The airlock hissed shut behind them, sealing the small chamber from the endless black of space. Captain Arik Veyron pressed a gloved hand to the wall, letting the weight of the moment settle on him. For weeks their team had moved from one derelict station to another, following faint signals left by missing ships, and now they were finally alone in the wreck of the Erebus horizon. Finally alone. Now do it. Commander Leora's whisper floated through the comms. Her voice was calm, almost eerily so, but there was an edge that made Arik's pulse quicken. He gave a wordless nod, feeling the tension coiled tighter in his chest. The mission had never been simple. Humans were still a young species in the galactic hierarchy. Most alien races either dismissed them as weak or feared them for their unpredictable courage. Arik had grown up hearing stories of the Confederation fleets, stories that painted humans as fragile. Yet somehow in the darkest corners of space, they kept surviving, kept fighting. This was another test of that resilience. The chamber before them was a tangle of broken consoles, darkened screens, and the faint scent of ozone. Lights flickered across the walls, casting long, jittery shadows that made every movement feel like a threat. Arik moved first, a quiet, measured pace, scanning every surface with the precision of a predator. The Erebus horizon was dead, but it had secrets, and the Confederation wanted them. This way, Leora murmured, leading him through a narrow maintenance corridor. Their footsteps echoed softly against the metal floor, the sound swallowed by the massive emptiness surrounding them. The station groaned as if it were alive, reacting to their intrusion. Arik's mind raced. They weren't just here for salvage. The transmissions they intercepted pointed to something unusual, a device or maybe intelligence left behind by a race humans had never encountered before. No one outside the small team knew the full scope. This was human ingenuity at work, and failure was not an option. The corridor opened into a wider chamber, walls lined with panels that seemed to shimmer with a strange energy. Arik felt it even before he saw it, a low vibration, almost a hum that resonated in his chest. He knelt beside a panel, brushing dust and debris aside to reveal markings. Alien symbols glowing faintly. "It's active," he whispered, more to himself than to Leora. Leora crouched beside him, eyes scanning the readouts. "Not fully," she said, "but it's waiting. For us?" Her voice was quiet, but there was an unmistakable thrill in it. They had faced impossible odds before, but something about this moment felt different. The station wasn't just abandoned, it was a test. And they were the test takers. Arik's hand hovered over the interface. Every instinct told him to proceed with caution, yet he couldn't help the excitement bubbling inside him. Humans had always thrived in chaos, turning danger into opportunity. Here, in this cold, abandoned place, that trait was their greatest weapon. A sudden flicker of light caught the corner of his eye. Shadows shifted unnaturally, as if the walls themselves were breathing. He glanced at Leora. Her expression was unreadable, composed, but her hand rested lightly on the hilt of her pulse sidearm. They both knew what this meant. Whatever had left the device wasn't just a trap for equipment. It was a challenge to them, and perhaps to all humanity. Arik pressed the first panel, and the room responded. The hum grew louder, almost musical, and a small holographic map projected into the air, lines connecting points Arik didn't recognize. He studied it carefully. "It's the map," he murmured. "Coordinates. But not to any human system I know." Leora nodded. "That explains the ambush on the Erebus horizon. Whoever built this wanted to hide it. But why leave a map at all?" They shared a look, one wordless communication that spoke volumes. Humans had always pushed forward, not because the path was easy, but because the unknown called to them. They were explorers, warriors, and problem solvers, and right now, the universe was testing both their courage and their intellect. Arik keyed in a few commands, and the panel expanded, projecting a rotating model of a ship, or perhaps a station, he couldn't tell. A small compartment blinked repeatedly like a heartbeat. "There," he said, pointing. "That's what we're looking for." Leora leaned in, her eyes reflecting the glow. "Then we have our path. Quiet, precise human way. We move, we adapt, we win." As they prepared to leave the chamber, Arik took a deep breath. He thought about the countless human stories that had led to this moment. Survivors on distant colonies, engineers in asteroid fields, soldiers who had faced impossible alien fleets. All of it had built a species capable of turning fear into strength. The door to the corridor hissed open, revealing the darkness beyond. Arik stepped forward, Leora following closely. The unknown awaited, dangerous and enticing, and for the first time in weeks he felt the exhilarating certainty that humans, no matter the odds, were ready. They were finally alone in the dead station. Yes, but solitude was a weapon and preparation was their ally. Whatever challenge awaited them next, they would face it as humans always had, together, relentless and unstoppable. The shadows shifted once more, and Arik's pulse quickened. The game had begun. The corridor stretched endlessly ahead, a dark ribbon of metal and shadow that seemed to absorb sound. Arik's boots made soft thuds against the floor as he moved, each step measured. Leora followed, her eyes scanning every corner, every panel, every shadow that dared to move unnaturally. The holographic map hovered between them, a quiet beacon of guidance. The blinking point that had caught Arik's attention in the last chamber pulsed steadily now, as if counting down toward something. Neither of them spoke. Words were unnecessary. Their training and trust carried them forward. Arik's mind raced with possibilities. Whoever had built this station, whoever had left the map, had done so for a reason. It wasn't just about hiding technology. It was about testing the species that would find it. And humans were the first to arrive. That was something to remember. The galaxy was full of beings who underestimated humans, who assumed curiosity and courage could not survive against cold calculation. They were wrong. The first door appeared massive and reinforced with alien markings that glowed faintly in response to their presence. Arik hesitated, hand hovering over the panel beside it. The markings shifted slightly, reacting to him almost as if the door was alive. Leora leaned close, her voice a whisper. It wants something from us. Patience, focus, precision. That's all it will accept, Arik nodded. He adjusted his gloves, pressed a series of commands on the panel, and held his breath. The door responded with a slow, grinding motion, moving just enough to reveal a sliver of the chamber beyond. A faint blue light spilled into the corridor, revealing a space filled with cables and tubes that hummed softly, like a heart beating under layers of steel. Inside, a pedestal rose from the center of the room. On it rested a small cube, sleek and metallic, covered in alien etchings. Arik approached cautiously, examining the surface. The cube wasn't heavy, but it radiated energy. Subtle, alive, deliberate. He ran a hand over it, careful not to trigger any response. Leora stepped closer, studying the markings. It's a key, she said simply. Or maybe the beginning of one. This is only the first step. Arik raised an eyebrow. A first step toward what? Whatever test they set for us, she replied. It could be power, knowledge, a weapon, or maybe all three. Her tone was calm, but excitement glimmered in her eyes. Humans had an advantage no other species seemed to anticipate, the ability to adapt. Where others froze or fled, humans pressed forward, learned quickly, and improvised. That trait had kept them alive in more battles than anyone could count. He nodded and carefully lifted the cube from the pedestal. The hum in the room intensified, vibrating through his chest. The cube responded to his touch, shifting slightly, glowing brighter. The alien markings formed a pattern, and Arik realized it was a sequence, a series of symbols that seemed to represent motion, direction, even thought. Do you see it? Leora asked. It's a puzzle. It wants us to look, a silent acknowledgement that they had passed the first test. But there was no celebration. In the silence that followed, Arik realized that the station around them had changed. Walls that had been inert minutes ago now pulsed faintly with light. Doors shifted and the once quiet hum had grown into a steady rhythm, almost like a voice. We've triggered something, Leora said, her tone measured. And I don't think it's just the map or the cube. This station, it's alive in its own way, and it knows we are here. Arik's heart quickened. Humans had faced impossible odds before, but there was a difference between danger and intelligence that actively tested you. He felt the thrill surge through him. This wasn't just survival, it was proof. Proof that humans could face the unknown and adapt faster, smarter, and braver than anyone expected. He glanced at the corridor ahead, now faintly lit by shifting panels of energy. Then we move, he said, his voice firm. We keep adapting. We keep moving. That's what we do. Leora gave a brief nod, her expression steely with focus. Humans don't wait for the universe to hand them answers. We take them, step by step, puzzle by puzzle, challenge by challenge. Together, they stepped forward, the cube in Arik's hand glowing softly as a guide. The station seemed to breathe around them, alive and watchful. And with each step, Arik felt a surge of pride, not just for himself or for Leora, but for humanity itself. They were clever, resilient, unstoppable, and for the first time in the vast emptiness of space, they were proving it. The next chamber loomed ahead, its door sliding open with a soft hiss. Beyond it lay uncertainty, danger, and perhaps more puzzles, but Arik and Leora didn't hesitate. Humans were meant for the impossible. They thrived in it, and so they moved forward, step by step, ready to face whatever the station and the galaxy threw at them next. The next chamber was larger than the previous one, its ceiling stretching into shadows that seemed to disappear into the darkness. Panels along the walls pulsed with faint energy, casting a soft glow that illuminated the strange machinery within. Arik and Leora stepped cautiously, boots echoing on the metal floor. Every instinct told them to move slowly, to watch for traps or sudden shifts. At the center of the room, a massive device rose from the floor. Its shape was difficult to describe, part machine, part organic structure. Tubes and cables twisted around a central core that glowed with blue energy, pulsing in time with the station's subtle hum. The cube in Arik's hand vibrated gently, as if responding to the presence of the larger structure. "This is different," Leora whispered. "It's more advanced than anything we've seen before. Not just technology, but intelligence built into it." Arik nodded. He could feel it too. The presence of something that wasn't just metal or circuits. It was thinking, testing, watching. Humans had faced danger before, but this was a puzzle unlike any other. And humans thrived on puzzles. The cube began to shift in his hand, its surface glowing brighter. Symbols appeared again, moving in a sequence that was fast, almost impossible to follow at first. Arik studied them carefully, tracing the patterns with his fingers, trying to understand the logic behind them. Humans were quick learners, and their strength was not in brute force, but in observation, adaptation, and ingenuity. Leora crouched beside him, her eyes scanning the machinery. "The cube is the key," she said. "It's reacting to the machine. We have to figure out how to connect the two without triggering any defenses." Arik took a deep breath. He studied the core of the device, noticing faint ports along its surface. Each port had a shape that matched the cube's sides. "It wants us to interface," he murmured. "Carefully, step by step. One mistake and—" He didn't finish the sentence. They both knew the consequences could be severe. He positioned the cube against one of the ports. It fit perfectly. The device pulsed, and a wave of light spread across the room, illuminating every corner. Symbols shifted on the cube, forming a sequence that Arik had to memorize. His mind worked quickly, calculating the patterns and rhythms as Leora guided him with quiet observations. Minutes passed, though it felt longer. The cube responded to each correct move, glowing brighter, the hum of the room rising in intensity. Finally, with a low, resonant click, the cube snapped into place completely. The machine's core brightened and a holographic projection filled the room. Arik and Leora stepped back, eyes wide. The projection was a star map, filled with coordinates to distant systems, some of which were unknown to humans. Symbols flickered over the stars, showing patterns of energy Arik had never seen before. "It's a map," Leora said, awe in her voice. "A guide to something out there. Something hidden." Arik's mind raced. Whoever built this station had created not just a puzzle, but a test. A way to measure intelligence, patience, and adaptability. And humans had passed. They were proving what had always been true. Humans could face the impossible and find solutions others could not. But as the excitement built, a soft vibration ran through the floor. The room shuddered slightly and panels along the walls shifted, revealing narrow passages that had been hidden. The machine's hum grew louder, almost like a voice. "It's opening new paths," Leora said. "We solved the first layer. Now it wants to see how we handle the next." Arik looked at the passages. Each one was dark and winding, filled with unknown dangers. But he felt a surge of determination. Humans had never thrived by avoiding challenges. They adapted, they explored, and they overcame. He placed a hand on Leora's shoulder. "We go forward. Step by step. We trust our minds and each other." She nodded, adjusting her equipment. "Every alien system we've encountered underestimated humans," she said. "We'll continue proving them wrong. That's what we do." Together they stepped into the first hidden passage. The walls were lined with alien symbols that shifted as they moved, almost as if observing their choices. Arik traced the symbols with his fingers, recognizing patterns and remembering sequences. The machine's core pulsed behind them, a constant reminder that they were still being tested. The passages twisted and turned, some ending in dead ends, others opening into new chambers filled with puzzles and mechanisms. Arik and Leora moved with precision, combining their skills to understand the alien logic. Every challenge demanded attention, patience, and creativity. Every challenge reinforced what they already knew. Humans were capable of thinking in ways no other species expected. Hours passed, though time felt distorted in the station. Arik could feel the exhaustion in his body, but his mind remained sharp. The cube pulsed gently in his hand, guiding them forward, reminding them that this was a game of intellect, not brute strength. Finally, they reached a chamber larger than anything they had seen before. At its center, a pedestal rose holding a second cube similar to the first but glowing with golden light. Arik's heart quickened. This was the next step, the next test, and humans were ready. They had faced the impossible, adapted, and advanced, and they would continue to do so. The station hummed around them, alive and watchful, and for the first time, Arik felt a quiet pride, not just for himself or for Leora, but for humanity itself. They were clever, resourceful, and unstoppable. With careful hands, Arik reached for the golden cube. Leora stood beside him. Arik studied the cube carefully. Unlike the first, its surface was engraved with more intricate symbols, patterns that seemed to move as he traced them. The glowing lines formed sequences, like a code waiting to be deciphered. He felt a thrill run through him. Humans were problem solvers by nature, capable of turning uncertainty into opportunity, and this was exactly the kind of challenge they excelled at. "We need to understand it before we connect it," Leora said softly. "Rushing will trigger something we don't want." Arik nodded. His fingers traced the edges of the cube, memorizing patterns, imagining connections, and testing hypotheses. The station seemed to respond, the hum vibrating through his body as if encouraging him to continue. This was not just technology, it was intelligence. Something in the station was aware of them, observing, evaluating, testing. And humans thrived under pressure. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they worked together. Leora pointed out subtle changes in the symbols, small movements that Arik might have missed. Together, their minds moved as one, combining logic and intuition. The golden cube began to resonate, responding to their understanding, its glow growing brighter with each correct sequence. Finally, with a quiet click, the cube's surface flattened, and a holographic projection appeared above it. The room filled with golden light as a detailed star map unfolded, showing a cluster of systems they had never seen before. Energy flows connected the stars, forming a network of points that pulsed rhythmically. Leora gasped. "It's a map of something hidden," she said. "Not just coordinates, but paths, patterns. Routes that lead somewhere significant." Arik studied the projection. Whoever had built this station had left a trail for those clever enough to follow it. The cube had been the key, a test of intellect and patience. Humans were proving themselves once again, able to read and understand what no other species might have dared to attempt. But the triumph was short-lived. The room shuddered, walls shifting, panels sliding open to reveal narrow passages leading into darkness. The station's hum changed, becoming more urgent, almost impatient. It was offering new challenges, and the path forward would not be simple. Arik took a deep breath. "We move forward," he said, steadying himself. "Step by step, carefully. The station wants to test us, and humans don't shy away from tests." Leora nodded, adjusting her equipment. "Every challenge so far has proven one thing. We adapt. That's what humans do, and we don't give up." They stepped into the first passage, the glow of the cube lighting the way. The walls were lined with intricate carvings and symbols that seemed to shift as they walked. Arik noticed patterns in the symbols, sequences that echoed the cube's glow. Humans were natural learners, capable of recognizing connections and anticipating outcomes. This was their strength. The passage twisted and narrowed, forcing them to move carefully. Occasionally, panels would slide open, revealing small puzzles or mechanisms they had to manipulate to proceed. Each challenge demanded focus, precision, and teamwork. Arik and Leora moved in sync, reading the signs, interpreting the station's subtle cues, and solving the puzzles one by one. Hours passed, though time seemed to blur. Fatigue pressed against them, but their minds remained sharp. Humans had always thrived on challenge, turning adversity into advantage. Every solved puzzle, every correct sequence, strengthened their confidence and confirmed the truth of what they already knew. Humans were adaptable, clever, and unstoppable when faced with the unknown. Finally, they reached a massive chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls were made of a translucent material, glowing faintly, and the floor seemed to ripple under their weight. At the center of the room, another pedestal rose, holding a third cube even larger and more intricate than the previous two. Its light was steady, almost hypnotic, and Arik felt the pull of curiosity and challenge. "This is it," Leora whispered. "The final test, or at least the next step. Whatever the station has planned, this cube will decide the path forward." Arik studied it carefully. The surface was covered in symbols that moved and changed, almost like a living pattern. Humans had faced impossible odds before. Hostile worlds, alien fleets, deadly environments, but this was different. This was a test of intellect, patience, and courage, and humans had always excelled under such conditions. He placed a hand on the cube. It pulsed gently, responding to his touch. Leora mirrored him, their combined focus guiding the energy of the device. The station seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching. And in that moment, Arik realized something profound. Humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, explorers, and pioneers capable of confronting challenges that no other species dared to face. The cube's glow intensified, casting long shadows across the chamber. Arik and Leora exchanged a brief, determined glance. Step by step, challenge by challenge, humans had proven their strength, ingenuity, and resilience. And now the station's ultimate test awaited them. They were ready. The golden cube's glow spread across the chamber, illuminating every corner in a steady, reassuring light. Arik held it carefully, sensing the intelligence behind its design. Every pulse of energy seemed to test their focus, to measure how they approached the challenge. Humans had always thrived on problems that required patience and creativity, and now they were proving it again. Leora stepped closer, her eyes scanning the intricate patterns on the cube. "This is unlike anything before," she said softly. "It's not just a puzzle anymore. It's a system, a network of challenges linked together. Every choice we make here affects the next stage." Arik nodded. "We've faced impossible odds before, and we adapt. That's what humans do." His voice was firm, steady, filled with quiet determination. The station seemed to respond to his words, the hum growing slightly louder as if acknowledging their resolve. They began by studying the symbols etched into the cube's surface. The patterns moved subtly, shifting like liquid light, forming sequences that required observation and intuition. Arik traced the lines carefully, noticing connections between one symbol and the next. Leora's sharp eyes caught the subtleties he might have missed, pointing out sequences that were mirrored or rotated, guiding his understanding. The room pulsed with energy, reacting to their combined focus. Humans were problem solvers, not just in thought but in instinct. They adapted quickly, testing hypotheses and learning from small adjustments. Minute by minute, the cube responded to their attention, glowing brighter, its light spreading further across the chamber. Then, without warning, the floor beneath them shifted. Panels slid aside to reveal a series of platforms, suspended over a pit of glowing energy. The gap was wide, the distance between platforms unpredictable. A faint vibration ran through the chamber, reminding them that the station's tests were not limited to intellect alone. Humans had always excelled when strategy and courage combined. Leora stepped carefully onto the first platform. "Watch your step," she said. "The station measures precision. One mistake could set us back." Arik followed, keeping his movements slow and controlled. Each platform responded to their weight, pulsing lightly before stabilizing. The sequence of movement became a rhythm, a challenge of coordination and focus. Humans had faced dangers in asteroid fields, alien terrains, and hostile battles, and they had always survived. This was no different. It was just a new kind of obstacle. Halfway across, a panel shifted, revealing a small device that emitted a faint blue light. Arik reached for it, recognizing it as another piece of the puzzle. The cube in his hand pulsed in response, guiding him to place the device correctly. With careful precision, he inserted it into a slot at the edge of the platform. The energy below them stabilized, and the remaining platform solidified, forming a clear path forward. "Good work," Leora said, her voice calm but proud. "We're learning its language. That's the advantage humans have. We don't just react, we observe, we analyze, and we adapt. They continued across the platform, solving small mechanisms along the way. Each success opened the next challenge, a wall of shifting panels with symbols that needed to align, a series of conduits that required redirection of energy, and finally, a large chamber filled with floating spheres of light. The spheres rotated slowly, their movements synchronized. Arik studied them, noting patterns and sequences. Leora moved beside him, her hands hovering over the controls. "We need to move them in the right order," she said. "Timing is everything. One misstep and the sequence resets." Humans were persistent by nature. They studied, they tested, and they tried again until they succeeded. Minute by minute, they aligned the spheres, the golden cube guiding them, its pulses matching their movements. Finally, with a soft chime, the spheres locked into place, their light merging with the cube's glow. A new passage opened at the far end of the chamber, revealing a corridor that shimmered with energy. Arik took a deep breath. "The station is showing us the way forward. We've earned this path. Every step has been a test of patience, intelligence, and coordination. And humans never give up," Leora nodded. "The challenges will only get harder. But so will we. That's the human advantage. Other species might be strong or fast, but humans are adaptable. That's why we survive and why we excel when no one expects it." Together they stepped into the corridor, leaving the chamber behind. The walls pulsed faintly, almost as if acknowledging their success. Arik held the golden cube carefully, feeling the energy flow through it. The station was alive, and it had recognized their abilities. As they moved forward, a sense of purpose filled them. Humans had faced the unknown before and emerged victorious. Each challenge had proven their intelligence, patience, and courage. And now, with the final stages of the station ahead, Arik and Leora were ready to face whatever awaited them next. They were proving, step by step, puzzle by puzzle, challenge by challenge, that humans were capable of overcoming even the most complex tests the galaxy could present. And no matter how difficult, they would continue. Leora stepped forward cautiously, her eyes scanning every shadow and panel. "This is it," she said softly. "Whatever this station is guarding, it's close." The final test. Arik nodded, holding the golden cube carefully. It had guided them through every previous challenge, responding to their patience, intellect, and coordination. Humans had always thrived in uncertainty, excelling where others would falter. He took a deep breath, letting the knowledge of their past successes steady him. At the center of the chamber was a structure that seemed alive, a swirling core of energy suspended above a platform. Lines of golden light arced from it in every direction, connecting to panels and conduits along the walls. The cube pulsed in Arik's hands, resonating with the energy in the room. "This is beyond anything we've seen," Leora whispered. "It's not just a puzzle or a machine. It's a system, and it's aware of us, testing everything we've learned so far." Arik studied the structure. The paths of energy seemed to follow logic, but it was more than logic. It required insight, intuition, and creativity. Humans had always been adaptable, capable of seeing patterns where others saw chaos. This was another chance to prove it. He stepped forward and placed the golden cube into a slot on the platform. Immediately, streams of light arced toward the swirling core, forming patterns that glowed brighter with every correct alignment. The cube responded to their actions, pulsing in rhythm with the energy flow. Leora moved beside him, analyzing the connections. "We have to adjust the pathways carefully. Timing, precision, and understanding. If we make one mistake, the system will reset." Arik's mind worked quickly. Humans excelled at problems that required both thought and action. He adjusted the panels along the walls, redirecting arcs of energy in the correct sequences. Leora synchronized her movements with his, her hands steady, her eyes sharp. Together, they were a single unit, reading the station's logic and adapting to its tests. The core pulsed faster, its light intensifying. Streams of energy began to shift unpredictably, testing their reactions. Humans were resilient under pressure, capable of learning quickly and adjusting strategies on the fly. Arik's heart raced, but his mind remained calm. Every pulse of the core was a challenge, and every challenge was an opportunity. They moved as one, adjusting conduits, redirecting flows, aligning symbols. Minutes felt like hours as they focused, responding to the station's tests with patience, ingenuity, and courage. The golden cube glowed brighter, almost as if acknowledging their success, and the hum of the station rose to a melodic crescendo. Finally, with a resonant chime, the core stabilized. The streams of energy merged into a perfect pattern, and a holographic projection unfolded above it. Stars, systems, and pathways appeared, some familiar, others entirely unknown to humans. At the center was a location highlighted with a steady golden light. "We've done it," Leora said, awe in her voice. "We've solved the station's final challenge. It's showing us the way." Arik studied the projection. Whoever had built this station had left a legacy, a test not just of strength but of intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. Humans had proven themselves, navigating impossible challenges with patience, skill, and creativity. The chamber shifted around them, panels sliding aside to reveal an exit. Beyond it lay unknown territory, a path that would take them further into the galaxy, guided by the knowledge they had earned. Humans had always been explorers, fearless in the face of uncertainty. This was no different. Arik glanced at Leora. Every challenge, every puzzle, every test, humans have faced the impossible and survived, and will continue to do so. Leora smiled faintly. That's who we are. We adapt, we learn, and we overcome. That's what makes us human. Together they stepped through the exit, leaving the chamber behind. The golden cube pulsed softly in Arik's hands, a reminder of their success and a key to the journey ahead. The station's tests were complete, and it seemed to acknowledge them, almost like a silent nod of approval. As they emerged into the corridor beyond, a sense of triumph filled them. Humans had faced the unknown and excelled, using intellect, courage, and cooperation to overcome challenges that no other species could manage. Every step they had taken, every puzzle solved, every moment of focus and adaptability had proven their strength. The galaxy stretched before them, full of mysteries, dangers, and discoveries. But humans were ready. They had passed the ultimate test, showing that even in the most complex, intelligent, and unpredictable situations, they could prevail. Arik held the golden cube, feeling its energy resonate with his own determination. Leora walked beside him, alert and confident. Together they had proven that humans were capable of greatness, that intelligence and adaptability could conquer even the most intricate challenges. And as they moved forward into the unknown, the pulse of the station echoed behind them, a reminder that humans were not just survivors. They were explorers, innovators, and pioneers, ready to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them next. The corridor beyond the chamber opened into a vast observation deck, its transparent walls offering a view of space unlike anything Arik and Leora had ever seen. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, distant systems glowing like scattered jewels, and in the center of the view a massive, ancient structure floated silently, a station, ship, or artifact from a civilization long gone. The golden cube pulsed softly in Arik's hands as if guiding them to the final destination. "This is it," Leora whispered, awe evident in her voice. "Whatever this station was guarding, it's here." Arik stepped closer to the viewing platform, feeling the familiar surge of determination. Humans had always faced the unknown and turned it into opportunity. Every colony established, every battle fought, every mystery solved had relied on ingenuity, courage, and persistence. And now, standing on the edge of discovery, he felt that same spirit coursing through him. The platform beneath them shifted slightly, sensing their presence, and panels along the walls illuminated paths leading deeper into the observation deck. Leora moved beside him, adjusting her equipment and scanning the area. The station had tested them at every step, challenging their intellect, patience, and teamwork. And humans had prevailed. At the center of the deck, a control interface waited, a blend of alien technology and energy fields. The cube's glow intensified, reacting to the system, syncing with the pulsing lights around them. Arik studied the interface carefully. It wasn't just a machine. It was an archive, a repository of knowledge, and possibly the legacy of an entire species. Leora crouched beside him, her fingers hovering over the controls. "It's waiting for us to connect," she said, "to prove we understand its language, its logic." "One final test," Arik nodded. Humans were natural problem solvers. They thrived when faced with challenges that required thought, intuition, and adaptability. He placed the cube onto the central interface, and immediately energy arced across the room, forming patterns that responded to their movements. The interface displayed sequences, streams of information and connections that shifted constantly. Arik and Leora worked together, reading the signs, anticipating the next sequence, and adjusting their actions. Their minds moved in unison, focused, patient, and relentless. Humans had always excelled in situations like this, complex, unpredictable, and demanding. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. The station hummed with energy, testing their endurance, their focus, and their ability to adapt. Arik traced patterns on the interface, while Leora aligned energy conduits and sequences. Step by step, they solved the intricate systems, understanding the logic behind the design. Finally, a soft chime resonated through the chamber, and the energy patterns coalesced into a single, radiant form. The station responded to their efforts, opening a massive view of the galaxy, highlighting regions filled with energy signatures, technology, and worlds unknown. The interface displayed coordinates and pathways, a roadmap to the galaxy's hidden knowledge. Leora stepped back, eyes wide. It's giving us access, the legacy of whoever built this station, and it's trusting us with it. Humans have proven themselves. Arik smiled faintly, pride swelling in his chest. The station had tested everything they were: intelligence, adaptability, patience, courage, and teamwork. And humans had passed every challenge. Every obstacle, every puzzle, every test had confirmed what he already knew. Humanity thrived in the face of the impossible. The observation deck shifted once more, opening new passages to areas filled with data archives, exploration plans, and energy sources. Arik and Leora moved through them, absorbing the information, marveling at the technology, and understanding the scale of what had been entrusted to them. Humans had earned this. They had faced the unknown and emerged not only unbroken but stronger, smarter, and more capable. Leora glanced at Arik, her expression calm but triumphant. "We've done it. Every test, every step. We adapted, we solved, we conquered. That's what humans do," Arik nodded. "And this is only the beginning. Every system we explore, every mystery we uncover, we do it the human way. Intelligent, resourceful, and persistent." This station recognized that, and the galaxy for them. They had survived, solved, and succeeded where others might have failed. Arik turned to Leora. "We move forward. Step by step, puzzle by puzzle, discovery by discovery. That's what humans have always done, and will continue to do it," Leora smiled. "The galaxy isn't ready for humans yet, but it will be, and we'll show it, one challenge at a time." Together, they activated the pathways to the next system, leaving the station behind but carrying its legacy with them. The golden cube dimmed, its purpose fulfilled, but its lessons remained. Humanity had proven itself once more, not just capable of survival but of thriving, adapting, and excelling against the most complex and intelligent challenges the universe could present. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and humans moved into them with courage, intellect, and unwavering determination. They were explorers, innovators, and survivors, and the galaxy had no choice but to recognize the strength of humanity. Because humans never stopped, they never gave up, and they never failed when the impossible demanded they succeed.